On the next episode of World in America, we meet the Cuban Americans. First, we'll visit a recent Cuban migrant family, Yesenia and her lively triplets. We'll then taste a gamut of Cuban dishes at Jersey City's Afro-Cuban cuisine. Last but not least, we'll see how Cuban American culture continues to excel through visual and performance arts. All coming up on the next World in America.
Cuba is a very special country.
Cuban things are associated with pleasure, palm trees and tropical islands.
Cuba has a lot of great visual artists.
Everything is about garlic. We put garlic on almost 99% of all dishes.
The experience of the Cuban Americans is a tribute to the human will and human determination.
Cuba is a very Western country. At the same time, it's very African.
Cuban music is famous.
The people really have a strong respect and love.
They are passionate about politics, mostly, and sport.
Family is extremely important to Cubans.
The Republic of Cuba is located in the Caribbean. Its neighbors are Haiti to the east, Jamaica to the south, Mexico to the west, and the United States to the north. Carrying a tropical climate, the country is green and gorgeous. Its population is 11 million, making it the most populous island nation in the Caribbean. And housing almost 4 of this 11 million is Havana, the capital city of Cuba. The history of Cuba goes back to the indigenous people of Tainos and Siboney. In 1492, the island was occupied by Christopher Columbus, who claimed it for the Kingdom of Spain.
The indigenous population was just basically wiped out in Cuba.
As the indigenous population was wiped out, Britain, who was in control of Port of Havana at the time, introduced enslaved Africans to the island.
Slavery in Cuba existed until 1888, the last place after Brazil to have slavery.
As an independent nation, Cuba went through multiple democratically elected governments during the first half of the 20th century. And in 1959, Fidel Castro took over the government, establishing rules that alienated many of its citizens and caused major migration out of the country.
Cuba is known everywhere in the world because of Fidel Castro and Che Guevara. That's whether, Cuban Americans will despise that fact, but that is a fact. Everywhere in the world they know Cuba, and the images that come are Fidel Castro, Che Guevara.
The history of migration from Cuba to the United States is a long one, as multiple waves of migration took place for more than 100 years.
19th century, early 20th century, a lot of this related to the independence movement against Spain, so it was political refugees, but also cigar workers. Key West, which is only 90 miles from Cuba, was basically a Cuban colony in Tampa, Florida. It was also founded by Cuban cigar workers and owners of cigar industry. But the big wave is related to the Cuban Revolution in 1959, so it's mostly 1960s and early 70s. Where the big wave of Cuban exiles came to the United States. Is related to the Cuban Revolution. They're fleeing the Cuban Revolution, they're fleeing the Cuban regime. They were seen as model immigrants, right? That they were anti-communist, that were pro-American, pro-free market, free enterprise, that they prospered, they had open mobility because they worked hard and they saved. People who had been lawyers and judges and politicians in Cuba, and even doctors, right? They were actually bus boys and working as waiters or taxi drivers.
Today, many Cubans continue to migrate to the United States. One such recent immigrant from Cuba is Yesenia Fernandez Alier.
My name is Yesenia Fernandez Alier. I'm 34 years old. I've been living in the U.S. for 5 years. I teach dance, salsa and Afro-Cuban dances. Motherhood is a very important part of my life because I am a triplets mom.
My name is Salvador. I'm 9 years old. My name is Malcolm and I'm 9 years old and I like to draw.
My name is Leandro and I'm 9 years old and I like to draw too.
There is an African influence on the Cuban culture due to centuries-long experience of enslavement. One example is how Yesenia named her triplets.
In the Yoruba tradition, all the twins have the same name. And so the first one that is born, the name is Taiwo, and the second that is born is named Kehinde. And if a kid is born after the twins, the name is Idowu. So my children's name actually with the whole names are Taiwo Salvador, Malcolm Kehinde, and Leandro Idowu.
5 years ago, Yesenia had to leave her triplets behind in Cuba and come to the U.S. alone in order to get settled and take care of immigration paperwork for her children. She still remembers vividly the day she left home.
Malcolm, before I left, he was like, "Mom, don't go." And I was like so shocked, no? And I was like frozen at the door, no? And so my mother grabbed him and kissed him and talked to him.
Instead of she coming to Cuba to visit, she brings some of her friends. And every time my grandma with us in Cuba told us that, I thought like, she's gonna come? But she always says no, she's not gonna come.
I miss terribly my kids. They miss me a lot. I couldn't sleep, most of my nights without them, just thinking about, how was everything for them.
I was saying, when am I gonna see Mom?
And I have to hold a lot of these feelings just because it was so impossible for me to call.
I waited 3 years to see her.
Just as many other immigrants from non-English speaking countries have to go through, Yesenia and her kids had to learn English as they were getting adjusted to their new home.
No una letra, nada como una carta que le dice algo a alguien.
I decided to hold them in the first grade so they can have like an extra year to adapt and to catch up with the language.
It's gonna take a bunch of years for me to learn, so I was kind of nervous and excited.
Entendía, pero entonces cuando lo oí me gustaba y me interesaba.
It wasn't only that we had to learn how to say the words, but we also had to learn what do they mean.
When they came here, first it's funny because I live in a community that is very Spanish.
Why are they speaking Spanish? I thought they speak English, and I was like, what?
The first and the second week in the school, they asked me, "Mom, where are the Americans?" Where are the Americans? Because everybody's speaking Spanish like me here.
When I was learning kind of English, I was like learning Spanglish.
America is a land of opportunity. It's a society that you can find your way. You can find your path no matter what you are or no matter what color you are. I study in Cuba psychology. I always was interested in social science. Right now I'm taking my exams pretty soon. Now applying to go to the university because I want to keep going with my studies too.
What begins as a challenge can turn into an advantage in the long run. This is what happens when it comes to learning English for Yesenia and the triplets. And it is only one of the many benefits they enjoy in the U.S.
My kids here, they are bicultural, they are bilingual. This is a value for me. the fact that they are able to speak very well both language, English and Spanish, and we struggle a lot so they can keep both. They are like in the 3rd grade. One of them is going to the Gifted and Talented program in the school. I work very hard with them so they can, keep up with the school. Like in math and this kind of subjects, they did very good. I'm able to pay for the private piano classes, something that in Cuba is almost impossible.
Thanks for coming. Goodbye.
Located in Jersey City, Azúcar Cuban cuisine is the place to be to taste the various dishes of the Cuban cuisine.
I opened this restaurant because I felt there was a need to show people what Cuban cuisine was really about.
We'll begin our journey into this delicious cuisine with a juicy slice of Cuban sandwich.
This is the famous Cuban sandwich. You start off with a nice piece of Cuban soft bread. We start off with putting a little mayonnaise on the bun.
Then, cooked and cured slices of meat are layered along with pickle and Swiss cheese. And our sandwich is then taken to a 400-degree press.
And here's where the French influence comes: butter. Lots of butter. If it hasn't killed the French, it's not going to kill you. Once all of that's done, this is what your sandwich will look like. Everyone thinks Cuban cuisine is a Cuban sandwich. Besides that, we are everything that you would eat anywhere else. Only well seasoned, maybe cooked in a different way, but it's all the same if you really think of it in the big melting pot of food.
Vaca frita is one of those well-seasoned dishes that has been enjoyed in Cuban cuisine for centuries.
Our next plate is going to be called vaca frita, fried cow. This is also another staple of our dishes. It's a peasant dish. This is what the people used to eat in the farms. To this, we're going to add a little allspice. This gives you that really nice, garlicky taste to it. We're pan frying the meat, thus vaca frita. We take our onions. It has been all julienne already there. This is our famous moro rice, which is white rice cooked with black beans. We used to also call this moro y cristianos.
Moors are dark, they're black beans, they're black, and Christians are white, and therefore they're the white rice.
The white population, when they clashed during the religious wars, they came up with this dish. So now we plate this, and there is your vaca frita.
Made out of plantains, maraquitas is an all-time favorite Cuban side dish.
Next plate I'm going to show you today is the green plantain. We've all seen this in your average food market, and you've wondered, what is this? Oh, this is a banana. We slice it with a potato peeler into something like this. You see this? Using a very hot fryer, 350 degrees. We drop them in. They're done. We take them. We put them on a plate. We salt them again. And there is your Cuban potato chips made out of banana.
And the king of Cuban cuisine is the simple yet exquisite bistec de palomilla.
While the Americans will cut a sirloin steak this way, we cut it the lengthwise because we're looking for more coverage. We take our palomilla and we just let it sit there, okay? Olive oil, salt, and black pepper. These are just major staples of a lot of cuisine, but especially ours. We add our onions right away, a little bit of the allspice right away. Typically, we eat it with white rice. And like in all of our cooking, we always give it a little squirt of lime juice, not lemon, lime juice. We have more limes in Cuba than anything else. So we plate this beautiful piece of sirloin like this, and we put all of the juices on it. So this is how we want it on the plate. All the juices, so the white rice can soak up all those flavors. Huh? And there, bistec de palomilla in under 3 minutes.
Art is the soul of any culture. With that in mind, Cuba Art New York strives toward promoting diverse artworks of Cuban Americans.
We're a not-for-profit, and we do this for the betterment of Cuban art.
We like to share our ideas, and this is a perfect venue. The Cuban American art is not necessarily Cuban, and it's not necessarily American.
Gilberto Ruiz is one of the artists highlighted by Cuba Art New York in this exhibit. His paintings invite the viewers to complete the paintings in their subjective ways, a reminder that art is an ongoing and interactive process.
These paintings, the three of them, they are going out of the frame, suggesting that the paint doesn't finish there.
The quality of the art is superb.
You know, he's very much of an artist, and he has to express himself in these works.
Organizations like the Cuba Art New York take upon themselves the serious responsibility of promoting art which then can carry Cuban American stories across generations.
What we can do is really try to safeguard and support the history, the art history of Cubans outside of Cuba.
But if we don't do it, and if people around us that are also interested in Cuban art, this is going to be lost to history.
Oyo Oru is an Afro-Cuban dance company. Tirelessly training dancers, the head teacher, La Mora, brings attention to this dance form through events like this one in Manhattan, New York.
I'm a dancer, professional dancer for 22 years. I'm also an Afro-Cuban teacher. For me, it's very important that the people know what's going on with the Afro-Cuban culture, the folklore, the traditional and contemporary dancer.
You know, one of the best ways to educate mainstream American art is this kind of stuff.
I have never been exposed to the Cuban dance form, and it's beautiful. It was lively, it was entertaining, the whole show was very informative.
They can enjoy it, they can see the depth of it, beauty of the music, the costumes, the culture, and it'll touch their heart.
The costumes, the rhythms, and the movement all gain a much larger meaning and context only with education. This is of particular concern to La Mora, who makes sure to transfer background information on the dance steps to her students.
If you don't know nothing about the history, if you don't know about the ancestral life, if you don't know nothing about the context, of the dance or culture that you project, your movement is empty.
You have to understand the stories in order to be able to interpret the dance adequately.
So we must know about history before we start move our body.
With its vibrant diversity, the United States offers an atmosphere where people from different backgrounds can enjoy and unite around a common interest.
This is a great place for anyone, whether they come from abroad or whether they come from a different part of the U.S., to be able to experience another culture, to be able to interpret that culture as if it was their own.
I feel very blessing for people for different kind of ethnicity have interest and respect and love for my culture. I feel blessed and feel grateful.
Whoever, what races, who has interest in this culture, she accepts, La Mora accepts. So I can dance here. I'm Japanese, but I can dance as Afro-Cuban dancer. That's a really good thing.
For me, dance is life, because it's the way that I have to communicate with the world.
As dance is meaningful movement, people's movement from one place to another also gains more meaning when they can introduce their rich traditions into the ones they find in their new homes. On this note, Cubans who are not foreign to diversity and integration are adding more meaning to their experience in the U.S. and continue to be a vibrant part of this nation through the arts, cuisine, and beyond.